If you're watching this later and on demand, thanks for picking my class. I appreciate it. We are going to be working with a beginner's flow today. We're going to be working on some balance. I don't know about you guys, but lately I need a little more balance in my life, and what better way to find that than to actually physically work on some balancing postures. So I do have some props recommended to help us for today's class. If you have blocks at home, I would recommend 2 blocks. Doesn't matter if they're foam or if they're cork. If you don't have any blocks available, books make a wonderful alternative. Again, the point of using these is really just to help to kind of bring the ground up to us and to support our practice, as well as using a strap today. Again, you can find another alternative. If you don't have a yoga strap, you can use a belt, you can use a tie, you can use a long scarf, anything that will help to lengthen the arms and shorten the legs. So give yourself a moment to gather up those things if you don't already have them. And then when you're ready, we will start our class reclined today. We will start on our backs. So when you do come on down to your back, I want you to make sure that the strap is within reach of your mat. So just place it down next to your mat. And when you're ready, join me down onto your mat. So as you come on down, I want you to find something comfortable. So maybe that's legs long, maybe that's our constructive rest pose with the feet wide and the knees coming in towards one another, or maybe you prefer that reclined butterfly with feet together and the knees opening wide. Just kind of seeing where you can settle in, settle down, start to focus the mind as you prepare yourself for today's practice. As we all start to come down and find our shape on our mats, let's go ahead and take 3 cleansing breaths together, just moving out any stale energy that you might be holding on to, maybe some stress or tension or anxiety that might be there. So together, collectively, let's take a nice big deep inhale through the nose, really focusing on filling up the belly. And then when you're ready, open mouth audibly, exhale, let it go. Good, round 2, inhale. Open mouth, exhale. Last one, inhale. And exhale. Good. From here, gently closing the lips and narrowing the breath to the nose for the remainder of the practice if it's accessible to you. I want you to just feel the sensation of your breath today, noticing the quality of it, noticing if it feels nice and smooth, or maybe it's just a little jagged because the mind is worried or wandering. Recognizing it, noticing it, without passing judgment on it. And as you start to focus in on that breath, let's focus in on moving it throughout the body today. I often talk about the 3-part breath. So when we take our inhales, we're moving the air past the chest, past the ribs, feeling them open and flare, and all the way down into that deep, deep belly. As you take that return exhale, you feel the belly button come a little closer to the spine. You feel the ribs start to knit back in towards one another, and the chest falls. Feeling this rhythmic sensation of the air flowing in and out. Can you challenge yourself to even out the length of the inhales and the exhales and really smooth out the transition between them? Focusing in on this breath helps us to kind of shut out the rest of the world, helps us to tune in to our inner self, and remembering that the breath is probably the most important part of our yoga practice. It really helps to tether that wild mind that we have bringing us back to center. It fuels our body for the practice, and it helps us to create some more space. So as you settle in here, taking about 6 or so more full, deep breaths. Feel your body making connection with your mat and the ground, and preparing your mind for the next hour of movement. Now, if you have taken legs long down the mat, or you've taken that reclined butterfly, let's go ahead and bend the knees and bring the soles of the feet down onto the mat. I want you to, from here, go ahead and hug that left knee in towards the torso. And I really want you to give it a nice, tight squeeze here. See if you can really feel the stretch along those front hip flexors. It feels pretty darn nice. And then when you're ready, let's go ahead and grab that strap. Hopefully it's nice and close by. We're gonna loop it around the bottom side of the foot. And from here, I want you to start to extend your leg towards straight. Now, if you take my classes, you know I always say towards straight, right? I'm not looking for you to have a perfectly straight leg. And in fact, I really don't want you to lock out this kneecap. So I want you to have just a little bit of a micro bend into this knee. And I want you to start to flex those toes towards the torso. That's going to turn this into an active stretch. So flexing the toes really helps to turn on those muscles along the back of the leg. And from here, we're going to use the strap just to start to pull that leg a little bit closer to the torso, just until you're feeling that nice stretch. Now, if you'd like to kick this up a notch, you have an option with that right leg. You can go ahead and extend that leg nice and long down the mat here, kind of making a little bit of a 90-degree angle with the legs here. It's going to kick it up into intensity just a little bit. So remember, some softness in the knees, flexing those toes, and be cautious here. Make sure you don't have a death grip on your strap or your belt or whatever it is that you're using. Can you relax the shoulders, possibly relax the hands just a little bit here? And really the only tension you should be feeling is in those hamstrings. Good. Now, to intensify this stretch even more, if you are looking for more today, on your next inhale, let's go ahead and lift the head and the shoulders up off of the mat as we start to bring the knee and the nose just a little bit closer to one another. I really want you to hug in the low belly here. We're going to take 3 deep breaths if you're here with me. Still pulling that breath down into that low belly. Good. One more big inhale. Exhale, gently bringing the head and the shoulders back down. Let's go ahead and transfer the strap into our left hand. Take your right hand, place it on top of that right hip point. We're going to gently start to open that left leg to the left to any degree. So a little soft micro bend into the left knee. Continue to flex those left toes. And I just want you to start to feel a stretch along that inner hip, inner groin area. Still breathing here. We're trying to keep that right hand onto that right hip to encourage that right hip and that right glute to still maintain contact with the mat. We want to make sure that we're not rolling onto our left hip here. So we're keeping the right hip square and neutral while we're finding an external rotation into that left leg. Good. 3 more breaths here. Good. On your next inhale, let's bring that left leg back up through center. We're going to transfer the strap into the right hand. Left hand is going to come out to the side, either like an airplane wing or a little cactus arm here. And we're just looking for a gentle crossing over to the right. Now, again, I don't want you to roll up onto the right hip. So think about keeping that left glute down, that left hip down towards the mat here. We're just looking for a little bit of a right movement as you start to feel a beautiful stretch along that IT band of that left leg. We have 3 breaths here. Soften the knee, flex the toes. Good. Your next inhale brings us back through center. Go ahead and bend into that knee. Let's release the strap back down to the ground. Let's hug that knee in. Maybe you're noticing you have a little bit more mobility here. Maybe you're able to tug it in just a little bit tighter and closer into the torso. And then placing the left hand onto the left knee, right hand can come out to the side. I'm just going to start to draw some hip circles here. So we're just taking the knee in a circular motion so that we're finding some range of motion into that hip. If you're anything like me, you've got some snapping, some crackling, and some popping going on. It's all good. The more we move the joint, the more we lubricate that joint. And let's go ahead and change the direction of those circles. In our practice, we always try and even out the body. So if we move something in one direction, we go the opposite. Beautiful. Hug it back into the chest nice and tight on an inhale. Let's go ahead and lift head and shoulders up off the mat. Knee to nose, nice tight ball. Inhale here. Exhale, we'll set everything back down. If you straighten that right leg, we're going to go ahead and bend that knee, and it's time for the right side. So hugging in that leg. I can automatically tell this side is tighter. Oh, I'm feeling it. It feels good to stretch it out. When you're ready, let's grab that strap. Looping it around that right foot, starting to extend that leg towards straight. Now, my right side is a lot tighter than my left side. You may notice you have a different insides. That is completely normal. We are not fully anatomically even on either side, and you also might have some old injuries that are, talking to you a little bit here. Let's keep some softness in that right knee. Flex the toes. Start to bring that leg a little bit closer to the torso if you can. If you'd like to straighten that left leg, now is a beautiful time to do that. Ooh, feeling that this morning. Good. And you're going to notice when you start to approach a pose, at first, it might feel really, really tight, but if we practice that 3-part breath, pulling the breath deep down into the belly, you're going to notice the body starts to relax into the pose, and all of a sudden you may find just a little bit more depth in it. Good. Now, if you took the option on the other side to lift in the head and the shoulders, here we go. On an inhale, head and shoulders lift up, bringing knee to nose. Notice my knee and my nose are nowhere near each other. It's all good. The intention is there. We have 3 full breaths. Good. One more big inhale. Exhale, gently lowering it back down. That strap is going to move into the right hand. Left hand is going to go ahead and come onto that left hip. When you're ready, let's go ahead and start to open that right leg to the right. Actively trying to keep that left glute, left hip down here. Breathing through the stretch. And we have 3 more breaths. Good. On your next inhale, let's bring that leg back up through center, transferring that strap to the left. My right arm is going to come out to the side. And I'm just looking. You notice it's not a huge motion I take. It's just a few degrees to the left. But I'm feeling that wonderful stretch all the way from the hip, wrapping down the glute and towards that knee. Three breaths. Good. Let's go ahead and come back to center. Bend into that knee. Let's place the strap to the side. Hug that knee back in. Automatically, I can feel the space that we've created. I am much looser now than I was when we started. Let's go ahead and take the hand to the kneecap, drawing our hip circles here. Now, these can be as big and as exaggerated as you need them to be today, or maybe you're just a little more tight and they're a little bit smaller. It's all good. Moving your body is moving your body. Let's reverse the direction. Good. Hug that knee back in. We've got that knee to nose again. On an inhale, head and shoulders up. Nice big deep inhale here. Exhale, let's go ahead and lower head and shoulders back down. I'm going to hug my left knee in to join the right and find a nice little rock from side to side. My favorite little low back massage here. And we will be coming up to seated next. So if it's in your practice to take the rock from the head, the crown of the head down to the tailbone, rocking along the spine a few times, go ahead and rock and roll yourself up to seated. If that's not in your practice, simply press your hands into the mat and come on up. I want you to take a comfortable seated position. That might be our Sukhasana or our easy seat, a little crisscross applesauce. You can always elevate yourself by sitting up onto a block, a bolster, a pillow, a small child, whatever you have laying around. Sometimes when we elevate the hips, it just makes this position a little bit more comfortable. If this doesn't work for you at all, go ahead and take your legs long, whatever works. Go ahead and sit up nice and tall. Roll those shoulders down and away, and let's drop the chin in towards the chest. So we're just looking here to really lengthen the cervical spine, allowing the weight of the head to act as our tension point here, really opening the shoulders, rolling them down and away. And when you're ready, we're just going to gently start to roll the right ear over towards the right shoulder. If you'd like to take the right hand on top of the head to offer just a little bit of extra tension, you can. Just really feeling a nice opening here along the side of the neck. I'm always guilty of carrying my tension in my neck and my shoulders, so I always like to start my practice with this stretch. You can release your hand from your head, dropping that chin back down towards the chest as we roll to the opposite side, left ear, left shoulder, and maybe that left hand just gives a little extra help. Good, releasing the hand here. Let's take our little half circles as we just make our little journey here from side to side, remembering to keep the shoulders down and away, pausing anywhere that you feel any extra tension or stress. Pause there, breathe into that spot. See if we can't use our breath to calm the body. Good, and the next time that chin falls back down towards the chest, let's go ahead and raise the head back up. Maybe a little smile on our face because we're excited to be doing yoga today. Maybe we're excited because we got outside today. Maybe we're excited because it's Cinco de Mayo and you know that you've got tacos and a margarita coming your way. Whatever you need. Let's go ahead and do some shoulder shrugs here. So on an inhale, thinking about rolling those shoulders forward and up towards the ears. And then as we exhale, I want you to start to roll them back down, thinking about squeezing the shoulder blades together. So inhale forward, opening the shoulder blades, raising them up to the ears, and then exhale, squeeze and lower. Finding that breath to movement, that vinyasa yoga that we practice. As always, as I cue the breaths throughout the class today, I want you to follow your own breath rate. So if I'm cueing too fast or too slow, Don't change your body to match my practice. Change my practice to meet your body. Good. Next time the shoulders come on down, we're going to take the opposite. So on an inhale, shoulders pull back together and up. Exhale, roll forward and down. Good. Let's relax everything back down, a little organic wiggle, wiggle from side to side, and let's create a little more space on our side body. Let's bring the left hand down to the mat next to us. On an inhale, we're going to reach the right fingertips up to the sky. Take an extra inhale here. And then as we exhale, starting to bend into that right or into that left hand here, we're going to find a little side bend or a little lateral stretch here. Now, what I want you to focus on, lower half is rooting down towards the ground here. So I'm really thinking about keeping that right glute down while my upper half is starting to open up, reaching up and over. I don't want you to collapse the chest and round it down. I want you to think about your chest being between two panes of glass here and finding an opening from the side. Now, as you start to pull your breath down into that low belly, you should really feel an opening along that right side body, opening up between the ribs into the intercostal space. Beautiful. On your next inhale, let's come back up through center. Exhale, right hand comes down. Start to actively reach the left hand up and over. If you want to bend into that right arm to offer yourself a little bit more, you can. Actively root that left hip, left glute down, and breathe. Good. On an inhale, let's reach all 10 fingers up to the sky. And as we exhale, hinge forward, a little Sukhasana stretch here, or if you've got your legs out long, then you're basically into a forward fold. I want you to go ahead and round into the spine. Let the head and the neck be heavy here. Just a few breaths here as we kind of loosen up the low back. We kind of wake up the hips just a little bit. We've got 3 breaths here. On your next inhale, slowly walking the fingers back up towards the torso, bringing the torso back upright. We're going to make our way into our first tabletop pose. So simply kicking the feet off to the side as we come all the way onto all fours, spreading the fingers nice and wide like rays of sunshine. We're lining up the joints. We've got wrists and elbows right underneath those shoulders. Knees are directly underneath the hips, flattening the feet, pressing into the mat. On an inhale, drop the belly. Head and heart pull forward through the shoulders here. Take a nice big deep inhale. And then as you exhale, rounding the back, I'm going to tuck my chin in towards my chest as I hug the belly button up towards the spine. Cat pose. On your next inhale, dropping the belly, head and heart pull through, hips tip up, cow. Exhale, round the spine, cat. Now I want you to follow your breath here for several rounds. We're just warming up the spine, linking that breath to movement. And as always, I would encourage you to take any organic movement that you would like here. So maybe as you come into your cat pose, you kind of press yourself back a little bit towards the heels. You can start to snake your way forward in your cow, kind of finding this like rhythm, circular movement if this feels good to you. Maybe you would like a little side to side, kind of wagging the tail and gaze can follow, or maybe even some barrel rolls with the torso. If you take those barrel rolls, I want you to go ahead and do them in the opposite direction as well. Whatever you're doing, I want you to go ahead and take about 3 more rounds. So about 3 more complete breaths of in and out. Good. After your last round, I want you to just kind of sit back on your heels for a moment. We're going to show our wrists just a little bit of love because we're going to be doing our spinal balance next and placing quite a bit of tension on just one wrist at a time. So let's go ahead and take some beautiful little wrist rolls here. I want you to go ahead and change the direction of your wrist rolls. Again, we're always working on evening things out. This class is all about balance, so we got to find that balance. Go ahead and shake out those wrists. Good, little pointing and flexing. And then when you're ready, let's come back, tabletop. Now, from this tabletop, right toes go to the back of the mat. I want to be cautious of my hips here. I'm trying to keep them squared to the mat, so I want to make sure that I'm not dumping that right hip down or opening it up. So thinking about keeping it flat and reflective against the mat here. Left fingertips can walk forward. Gaze is down at the center of the mat. I want to think about keeping my cervical spine nice and long and straight, so crown of head is kind of pulling forward as I lengthen. You can stay right here and balance right here. If you're ready for more, thinking about keeping those hips nice and square, flex the foot, lift that leg up off of the mat, stay here, or maybe you challenge yourself and that left hand, start to actively reach forward, keeping bicep near ear. We're holding in the low belly here, thinking about a nice flat back. We have 3 breaths. One more big inhale. Exhale, left hand, right knee, come back. Let's go ahead and sit back on the heels. Again, show your wrists some love. Whatever you need. Come on back, we have another side. Left toes back. Hips squared, core engaged. Right fingertips forward, gaze down. When you're ready, inhale, left leg lifts. Actively flexing that foot and driving that heel back as if I was trying to place my footprint on that back wall, and maybe the right arm reaches forward. Making sure that I'm not looking forward. If I look forward, I'm now placing tension onto that cervical spine. So keeping my gaze down, actively pressing that left hand into the mat so I'm not dumping into that left shoulder blade. You've got 3 breaths. Good, one more inhale here. Exhale, right hand, left knee, come back down, child's pose. Big toes touch, knees wide. Start to sit the hips back on down towards the heels and actively walk the hands forward. We're trying to bring the forehead down to rest on the mat here. Now, if it does not comfortably reach the mat, try a pillow, a bolster, a blanket. Using whatever prop it is that you need to help bring yourself down and feel the grounding sensation of the child's pose. Three breaths. When you're ready, coming back up, tabletop, and from tabletop, making our way to our first downward facing dog. Hands come about 1 handprint forward. So now my wrists and my elbows are forward of my shoulders. I'm gonna tuck the toes, start to press into the mat as I lift the knees up off of the mat. I'm gonna find this upward motion first, and then I'm gonna start to press my way back. First downward facing dog of the class, I want you to find some movement. So bend into your knees. Go ahead and shake the hips from side to side. Shake the head, yes and no. Can you release tension? What are the fingers doing right now? Are they spread nice and wide? Are they actively engaging into the mat, gripping on down? And when you are ready, I want you to find 3 steady breaths in stillness in your downward facing dog. On your next inhale, bending the knees, looking forward. Let's walk the feet to the top of the mat, coming to our first forward fold. Now, maybe a generous bend in the knees here. We're trying to bring the torso closer to touching the tops of the thighs. We want that head to hang super heavy, arms to hang nice and heavy here. Maybe we even grasp opposite elbows, taking our ragdoll, or maybe finding a shoulder opener. Just kind of deciding what would feel good and in your body today. And we're going to be hanging out here for about 5 or 6 breaths. So taking your time to explore, finding movement or finding stillness. Now, if your fingertips have traveled, I want you to send them back in line with the toes. On your next inhale, with a strong core and a flat back, start to lift the torso just halfway up. I want you to relax the shoulders, pull them away from the ears here. I want you to engage the quads, pull the kneecaps up towards the frontal hip points, hug in that low belly, gaze straight down at the ground. So thinking about that long cervical spine, taking a nice big deep inhale here in our half flat back, and then exhale, come back to your forward fold. From here, we're going to ragdoll our way all the way up to standing. So just slowly starting to roll the torso all of the way up. Let the head be the last thing to come up. Roll those shoulders down and away as we find our first mountain pose. Feet are about hips width distance apart. Legs are active. Pull the kneecaps up, engage the thighs. I want you to find a little bit of a pelvic tilt here. So think about pointing our tailbone down to the ground. So we're scooping those frontal hip points up and forward so that we're closing the gap between the low ribs and those frontal hip points. Relaxing the shoulders down and away, palms forward. We're growing from the crown of the head while tucking the chin in towards the neck a little bit here, lengthening the spine. Beautiful. We're going to do our warm-up series. We're going to take our sun salutation A's. We're going to skip any vinyasas within our sun salutation A's, but we are going to be finding our downward dog. So if you have a different variation of sun A's that you would like to do today, always encouraging you to do what feels right in your body. If down dog is a little too intense for you today, take a tabletop. Whenever I cue down dog, come into a tabletop. Find what works for you, but let's go ahead and start to find that flow to really warm us up and prepare ourselves for our standing series. So as you're ready, let's inhale. Arms sweep up to the sky as we find our upward salute. As we exhale, maybe a little bend into the knees, hinging from the hips, coming all the way down into that beautiful forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift and lengthen. Exhale, hands are going to come down to the mat. Now, if you do a full sun A with a vinyasa, here is your opportunity. If you would like to come on down to just a tabletop and maybe take a cat and cow, here is your opportunity. Or if you're with me today, I'm just going to step straight back to a downward facing dog. I'm going to settle in. I'm going to make my little micro adjustments here, really hugging in the low belly, maybe an active bend into the knees to get those hips a little bit higher. But I have 3 breaths here. On your next inhale, bend the knees, look forward. Exhale, walking those feet to the top of the mat as we all meet up in a forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift and lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale, root to rise, press into the feet, torso comes up, arms sweep up to the sky, upward salute. And then exhale, hands to the heart center, releasing back down to the side, mountain pose, Tadasana. Round 2, inhale, upward salute. Exhale, dive it in, forward fold. Inhale, lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step back, down dog, vinyasa, tabletop, whatever is calling to you. 3 breaths. On your next inhale, bend the knees, look forward. Exhale, step or walk your feet to the top of the mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, upward salute. Exhale, hands to the heart. Release to the sides. Tadasana. One more round. Inhale, upward salute. Exhale, dive it in. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step back. Do your thing. 3 breaths. On your next inhale, bend the knees, look forward. Exhale, walk or step the feet to the top of the mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, upward salute. Exhale, hands to the heart. Now from here, time for our little check-in. We're about halfway through our practice, finishing up our warm-up. Let's go ahead and bring one hand to the heart, one hand to the belly. If it feels safe to you, close your eyes, draw inward. Can you feel your heart beating against your hand? Can you feel your belly expand with your breath? Just taking note of the thoughts that are passing through your mind. And I have just a little mantra for you today. If it resonates with you, awesome. If not, no harm, no foul. But I'd like for you to repeat to yourself 3 times in your own head, I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. Let's go ahead and release the hands back down to the side. Open the eyes if you've closed them. Now we're going to have a little fun with balance. So I want for you to go ahead and get your blocks. Let's go ahead and set our blocks up towards the top of our mat, and I want you to place them on their highest setting. And of course, it wouldn't be one of my classes, sorry as I adjust all of my gear here. It wouldn't be one of my classes if we didn't throw in a chair pose. So we're going to come to the top of the mat. We're going to find the footwork that works for us for our chair pose. So today that might be big toes touching, heels slightly separated. If that feels good to you, stay there. If you're like me, I like my feet about hips width distance apart. This works better for me. On an inhale, arms up, start to sit on down into that imaginary chair. We're going to make all sorts of adjustments here, so get ready with me. If your shoulders are tired, you can bring your hands to heart center. But I want you to shift your weight towards the heels. See if you can lift the toes up off of the ground. Look down. Can you see those toes? If you can't, I need you to shift the hips back and the knees will follow. I want you to think about pointing that tailbone down towards the ground. So tucking in that tail here, really turning on those core muscles. Relax the shoulders down even though the arms are reaching to the sky. We have this for 3 breaths. Maybe you even challenge yourself and sink a little bit deeper into your chair. Take a nice big deep inhale here. Exhale, forward fold. Love that forward fold after a chair. We're going to step our right foot back. Since we're working on balance today, we're going to try and stay high on the ball of that right foot. I'm going to walk my left foot just to the left a little bit because I really want to think about a broad base here. We're going to explore our crescent pose. Place a nice generous bend into that left knee. Slowly bring the torso upright. So I'm trying to keep this back leg nice and strong, nice and straight, really drive on down into the ball of that foot. I'm also trying to evenly plant and bear my weight into that left foot, finding that balance. Now right now my hips are trying to open out a little bit, so I want to square my hips forward. Imagine you've got flashlights pointing forward and tuck the tail, lift the pelvis off of the thigh. Once you have all of that, arms can raise on up, relax the shoulders down, and you have made it to crescent pose. Beautiful job. We're going to hold this for 3 solid breaths. Now from here, take a nice big deep inhale. As I exhale, I'm going to start to bring my hands back down. My legs are going to stay just as they are, and I'm going to grasp those blocks. I want to put those blocks down, and I want to think about really actively pressing into those blocks and thinking about a nice long spine. From here, we're going to play with our warrior 3 just a little bit. Oh, I know it sounds scary. It's really not. I want you to start to think about pushing off of this back foot, bringing my weight forward a little bit, and maybe finding just a little bit of lightness in those right toes. Now you may have to move your blocks. I'm going to put mine here so that they're kind of underneath my shoulder blades. Now eventually, I want to see if I can start to bring that leg in line with my back. So I've got one nice strong line. You may be here. You may even have a toe on the mat. You may be somewhere in between. Wherever you're at is beautiful. We have 3 breaths. Hold in that core. Strong standing leg. Don't let that right hip dip. Good. When you're ready, let's step that right foot to the front. I want to walk your feet wide here so that we've got heels in and toes out. We're going to explore our yoga. So, starting to bend into the knees, starting to bring our glutes down towards the ground here. We're working on eventually keeping our feet flat with the ground. If that doesn't work for you, you may be up here and that's okay. You can also take that beautiful block that you have and you can set it underneath yourself and support yourself this way. If you're with me and you're working on that yogi squat, I want you to bring the elbows to the inside of the thighs. Hands can come together into that heart space. I'm pressing the thighs out while pressing against the elbows at the same time, broadening the chest and really thinking about lowering the tailbone down towards the ground. We're taking 3 breaths here. Now, either bringing the hands down to the ground or to the blocks. We're going to press ourselves back up to a forward fold. We can walk those feet back together. We started this beautiful little sequence in a chair pose. We're going to end it in a chair pose. So on an inhale, halfway lift and lengthen that spine. Exhale, come back to the fold. Inhale, sink the hips down. Arms and torso raise. Here's that chair pose. 3 breaths. You've got this. One more inhale. Exhale, fold. I'm going to change spots so you can see me better. From this fold, I still have the blocks towards the top of the mat. I'm going to step that left foot back. We're setting up for crescent on the opposite side. Staying high on the ball of the left foot. Actively bending into that right knee. When you feel steady and stable, slowly bringing that torso upright. Maybe walking the right foot to the right. As I bend into this right knee, I should still see the first 2 toes of my right foot. That means that my knee and my ankle are in agreement and they're happy with one another. Tucking in that tailbone, lifting that pelvis. Inhale, reach the arms up overhead. Three breaths. Good. From here, starting to come forward, I'm going to shift my weight forward, bringing my hands to those blocks. I'm going to play with that warrior 3. We're grounding our warrior. This foot is flexed. This leg is active. I'm lifting it using those hamstrings that we stretched in the beginning of our class. Little softness to that right knee. Breathe here. One more inhale. Exhale, bring that left foot down. Again, if you want to play with your yogi squat, take the feet wide, heels in, toes out. Sinking that tailbone down. Maybe a little wiggling around here. Maybe it takes you a while to get in the pose and you gotta use all sorts of blocks as support. I want you to use what you need to use, but I want you to just try this pose. I know it can look intimidating, but just give it a try. And the most fun part of this pose, we're gonna exit it super gracefully. I'm just gonna bring my hands behind me, and I'm gonna sit my booty on down. We have come to our seated, stretchy portion of the class already because, gosh darn it, as always, the time just escapes me. We always have so much fun, and I always have so much more planned than what I can squeeze in. So come on down to your seats if you're not there already. If you need to grab a drink of water, quick towel off, now is a great opportunity. We're gonna find our bound angle or Baddha Konasana pose. I want you to go ahead and move the extra flesh away from those sits bones. I want you to feel nice and rooted down into your mat, bringing the soles of the feet together, bringing them nice and close to the torso. I want you to sit up tall, shoulders down and away, broadening the chest, wrapping the hands either around the shins, the ankles, the feet, whatever feels right and feels natural to you. Take a nice big deep inhale here. And then exhale, hinging forward, flat back. I want you to just pull yourself in here. Keeping that back flat for as long as you can. You're gonna hit that point of resistance where you can't go any further. If you would like to round the spine then and bring yourself a little bit deeper, you can. I oftentimes like to walk my hands forward in this pose and just kind of hang out and breathe, get a little bit of a shoulder stretch as well as a hip stretch. But just reminding you to continue to breathe nice and deep, pulling the breath into that low belly here. Noticing where the body is holding any unnecessary tension, releasing that. We have 6 breaths. Good. From here, slowly walking that torso back upright. We're going to be kind to our body. We're going to close our legs as if we were closing a book. So one hand on the outside of each knee, gently closing it here. Let's plant the soles of the feet. Let's bring the hands behind us, and let's take some windshield wipers here. Just allowing the knees to drop down to one side and then the other. Oh, that right hip is always so much tighter. Good. From here, we're going to explore a pose I haven't done in a really long time in any of my classes, and I'm not entirely sure why. I want you to go ahead and take your right leg, extend it out long. I want you to keep the left knee bent with the sole of the foot planted. We're going to take what's called half Lord of the Fishes. I don't know where they come up with these crazy ass names, but really is just a seated twist, a variation of a seated twist. So I want you to sit up nice and tall in your torso. We're going to bring the right hand to the outside of the left knee, and the, right hand to the outside of the left knee. I'm backwards from you guys. And my left hand is going to reach behind. Sitting up nice and tall in the torso, we're going to go ahead and take a nice big deep inhale. And then as we exhale, just starting to twist here to the left. We're kind of using this leg as a little bit of leverage. You may even be able to bring your elbow to the outside of the knee to deepen the twist. Just kind of finding what feels right and feels good in your body. Relaxing that back shoulder, and if you'd like to take the gaze over that back shoulder, you can. Good. From here, take a nice big deep inhale. Exhale, slowly release the twist, and let's go ahead. So left leg extended long. Left hand can come to the outside of that right knee. Right hand can come back. I'm like all tripped up on my mirroring today. I'm gonna flex these toes, just kind of make this an active leg here instead of a passive leg. I want you to sit up nice and tall in the torso. Take an inhale. Exhale, find that twist. And again, maybe the elbow comes to the outside of that knee, but don't do it if it's gonna compromise your twist. You know, I don't really want you to force yourself into it. So I kind of just like my hand there just to offer that little gentle guidance. Relaxing the back shoulder, gaze can go back. Nice big deep inhale here. Exhale, release, unwind. Good. We're gonna come on down to our backs next, but I would like for you to have a block within grabbing distance. So just placing that block on down. If you'd like to do just a little bit of core work with me to get yourself on down, we're gonna go ahead and plant the soles of the feet onto the mat, sitting up nice and tall in the torso, reaching the fingertips forward. I want you to just gently and as slowly as you can, start to lower yourself all of the way down onto the mat. Now I'm really keeping that low belly hugged in, nice and tight the entire time, trying to avoid flopping down onto the mat while still breathing and talking to you guys. I am multi-talented. As we come on down, let's be gentle, hug those knees in. Oh, nice little tight ball. Maybe a little rocking here from side to side. We're gonna set ourselves up for our bridge pose. We're gonna make this a little bit of a dynamic bridge, so we're gonna add some movement to our bridge. We're gonna be linking that breath to movement. So on inhales, we'll lift up into the bridge and lift our hands behind us, touching the ground behind us. And then as we exhale, we'll gently lower back down and the hands will come back down as well. So setting ourselves up. We're gonna start to walk the heels in nice and close to the glutes. You should be able to touch the back of the heels, hands down at your side. On an inhale, press into the heels, lift the hips, hands reach behind. Exhale, gently lower down. Hands come forward. Let's do 5 rounds. Follow your breath. Inhale, rise. Exhale, lower. Inhale for 3. Inhale, 4. Inhale, 5. Beautiful. 5 rounds there. Let's go ahead and take a resting bridge pose. So grasping that block that we have on an inhale, lift the hips up. Let's slide that block underneath. I'm looking for the sacrum, so that super flat spot at the very base of the spine. When you rest your hips back on down to that block, it should feel pretty comfortable. That means that you found the sacrum. If it's not comfortable, then I want you to go ahead and adjust it. Find that sweet spot there. From here, allow the arms to just kind of come out nice and wide away from the body. Let the weight of your body just rest down onto the block as we find this nice little gentle back bend. A little bit of a heart opener as well. And then from here, one of my favorites is the waterfall. So I like to lift my legs up to the sky. So 1 foot at a time, bringing them up, knees bent, and then when you're ready, starting to extend those legs up. So from here, free play. I love to roll my ankles, kind of point and flex. You can bend the knees here. You can even just give yourself a nice little massage and just kind of move some of that fluid in the opposite direction with those legs. And you'll kind of find an equilibrium here. You're gonna find that point where you're not really working to keep those legs up. Everything finds that balance. See where I'm going here? Balance class. We're kind of balancing the legs, finding that spot here. You can take the arms out nice and wide again. Just pausing here for a few breaths. And then we exit this pose the same way we came into it. So bending back into the knees, placing one foot back down to the ground at a time. We can press into the heels to lift the hips and then simply remove the block out of the way as we gently drape the spine back down to the ground. We've got a happy baby here to close out our practice. So bringing those knees back into the chest, taking them wider than the torso, starting to shine the soles of the feet up towards the sky, reaching the hands in between the legs as we grasp for the outside edges of the feet. From here, pull on down. See if you can bring the knees and the armpits a little bit closer to one another. If this is not accessible to you, grasp the backside and just hug those on down here. And then as always, maybe you rock a little bit. Maybe you just extend one leg this way and extend another leg that way. Just whatever kind of feels good. And really at this point, it's yogi's choice. Deciding what it is that you would like to finish out your class. What feels good, what feels right, what does your body need? Maybe it's a gentle reclined twist. Maybe you've got plow pose in your practice and you want to take that. Encouraging you right now to take those final movements that you need, and then when you are ready, join us back down in Shavasana. So, deciding what that shape looks like to you today, I would encourage you to take up some space. Let those arms go out nice and wide. If you've got the legs down long, take up space with the legs as well. If you're someone like me that suffers from a little bit of lower back issues, I prefer to take this constructive rest. It's a little bit easier on my low back. But really just accommodating your body, and use props. If you have bolsters, stick a bolster under your knees. If you liked the sensation of the legs up, why don't you find a wall? Take legs up the wall for your Shavasana. Make it customized to you. The best part is nobody's seeing what you're doing other than the people that live with you. And if you've been stuck with them for the last 6 weeks, they probably already think you're crazy. So as you settle on down here, just encouraging you to let your breath return to its own natural rhythm. Relax the muscles of the face, the forehead, the jaw. Let the shoulders melt down to the mat. Let the hips be heavy. Let the mind be light. And truly give yourself permission to rest. As you're ready, just starting to bring some movement and awareness back into the body. Taking a moment to wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes. Maybe reach the arms up overhead, taking a nice full body stretch. Let that back arch up and away from the mat. And then taking a moment to roll onto one side or the other, coming into our embryo pose. Stacking the knees one on top of the other, resting the head onto the arm. Just taking the last few moments of this class as a gift to yourself, a moment of peace, clarity, thanking yourself for showing up today, approaching your practice with a grateful heart. And then when you're ready, simply pressing a palm into the ground to bring yourself back to an upright position, finding whatever is comfortable for you, encouraging you to keep the eyes closed or just a gentle gaze forward. Taking your time to come up, there is no rush. We'll close out our practice together today by bringing your hands to heart center. Raising your thumbs up to your forehead to remind you to know your worth. Bringing your fingertips to your lips to remind you to speak your truth. And bringing your hands back to heart center to remind you to share your light. It has been a true honor for me to guide you through today's practice, and I hope that it helps. Namaste.